Valenro was a city built on secrets. By daylight, it glittered with glass towers, luxury cars, and polished smiles. At night, it exhaled truth. Deals were signed in blood, loyalties were tested in silence, and power answered to only one name: Lorenzo de Santis. The Mafia king did not need to announce his rule. His presence alone bent the city to its knees. Judges owed him favors. Politicians feared his shadow. Criminals prayed never to catch his attention. And fate, cruel and deliberate, was already weaving a woman into his life. A woman who would try to run. A woman who would learn that there was no escape from the Mafia king's embrace. Aria Monroe had mastered invisibility. She walked quickly, eyes down, shoulders slightly hunched, as though apologizing for existing. Life had taught her that attention was dangerous. She'd grown up watching her mother trust the wrong men, believing promises that shattered like cheap glass. Aria trusted no one. By day, she worked at a small design studio, quietly editing layouts no one bothered to credit her for. By night, she served drinks at the Raven's Court, an exclusive club where the rich and ruthless gathered. The tips paid her rent. The silence kept her alive. Or so she believed. The club pulsed with low music and murmured power when it happened. Aria turned too fast. The glass slipped. Red wine splashed across a black suit worth more than her yearly salary. The room froze. She didn't need to look up to know she was in trouble. Fear crawled up her spine as whispers rippled around her. "Oh God, I'm so sorry," she said breathlessly. A hand caught her wrist. "Look at me." Her heart slammed against her ribs as she raised her eyes. Lorenzo de Santis. He was taller than she imagined, broader, impossibly composed. His dark eyes studied her like she was a puzzle no one had dared to hand him before. The manager rushed forward. "Sir, we'll handle this." "Leave," Lorenzo said quietly. The command sliced through the air. They left. Alone with the devil himself, Aria waited for destruction. Instead, Lorenzo asked, "Are you always this careless? Or only when you're nervous?" I don't know," she stammered. A faint smile tugged at his lips. "You're honest. That's rare." He waved a dismissive hand. "Go." She blinked. "That's it. For now," he replied. Aria walked away, unaware that Lorenzo's eyes followed her until she vanished. He had just found his weakness. Lorenzo de Santis did not believe in coincidence. When Aria crossed his path again 2 days later, he knew the universe was mocking him. She stood at a bus stop, tired, hair pulled back, unaware of the black car idling across the street. Lorenzo watched her through tinted glass, unsettled by how easily she occupied his thoughts. "She doesn't know who you are," his lieutenant Marco said. Lorenzo's jaw tightened. "She knows enough." That night, he ordered men to follow her. Not to scare her, to protect her. Aria noticed the change immediately. The streets felt watched. A stranger intervened when a man followed her too closely. Her landlord suddenly smiled and mentioned a clerical error regarding her rent. When she finally confronted him, her fear turned into fury. "You think I wouldn't notice?" she snapped when Lorenzo appeared beside her apartment building. "You're controlling my life." "Yes," he admitted. "You don't own me." He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "I don't own you yet." Her breath caught. "Yet. You've already been seen," he said. "That makes you vulnerable." "Because of you. Because of the world," he corrected. Aria turned away, hands shaking. "I want nothing to do with you." Lorenzo let her go, because he knew running only delayed the inevitable. Danger arrived without warning. A black van, hands over her mouth, fear like she had never known. Aria screamed once before the world went dark. When she woke, she was bound, surrounded by men whose eyes held no mercy. They spoke her name like a weapon. "You belong to de Santis," one sneered. "Let's see how much he values you." They never finished the sentence. Gunfire shattered the night. Lorenzo came like a storm. When he reached her, blood soaked his sleeves. His hands trembled as he cut her free. "I told you not to run," he said hoarsely. Tears streamed down her face. You said you'd let me go. I lied, he whispered, pulling her into his chest. I can't. Lorenzo moved Arya into his estate. Guards. Walls. Safety disguised as luxury. This is a prison, she accused. Yes, he replied. One with locks on the outside. She hated him for it. She hated herself more for feeling safe in his arms. Slowly, she learned the man behind the crown. The boy who grew up in violence. The leader who never slept peacefully. The king who carried death so others wouldn't have to. And Lorenzo learned her. Her stubbornness. Her compassion. Her refusal to bend easily. Against every rule he'd made, he fell. Their relationship was fire and steel. Arguments ended in silence. Silence ended in longing. The first time he kissed her, it was restrained, as though he feared breaking her. The second time, restraint shattered. You don't have to stay, he said afterward, voice rough. She touched his face. You won't let me leave. No, he admitted. Then love me properly, she said. Or let me go. He chose love. Rival families rose against Lorenzo. Arya became a target again. This time, she refused to be weak. She stood beside him, learned his world, and faced the cost of wearing his name. Blood was spilled. Betrayal burned deep. When a trusted ally turned traitor, Arya was nearly killed. Lorenzo lost control. Valenro burned. By dawn, his enemies were erased. Arya changed. She no longer flinched at gunfire. She spoke with authority. The city learned to fear her quiet strength. You've become one of us, Marco said. She shook her head. No, I became his. Lorenzo crowned her not with gold, but with loyalty. You are my heart, he said, and my greatest weakness. Power never rested. Arya learned this on the night she signed her first order. It wasn't written on paper. It wasn't announced aloud. It came as a look across a long table, blood-red wine untouched, men waiting for her decision. He sold us out, Marco said. If we let him live, others will try the same. The man on his knees trembled. He had once smiled at Arya, offered her coffee, pretended loyalty. She looked at Lorenzo. He did not speak. He never influenced her choices now. That was the most dangerous freedom of all. Exile, Arya said finally. Strip him of everything. If he returns, then kill him. The room exhaled. Lorenzo's eyes held something close to pride. Later, alone, Arya washed her hands until her skin burned. You spared him, Lorenzo said quietly. I didn't do it for mercy, she replied. I did it so I can still recognize myself. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. You're stronger than I ever was. She closed her eyes. That's what scares me. The past never stayed buried. Arya's mother appeared one afternoon at the estate gates. Older, thinner, eyes filled with regret. I heard you married a powerful man, she said, voice trembling. I need help. Lorenzo stood back, watching Arya's face fracture. She abandoned me, Arya whispered later. Left me with nothing. And now? Lorenzo asked. And now she wants protection, Arya said bitterly. Lorenzo nodded. What you decide, I'll enforce. That night, Arya sat across from her mother, anger and love colliding painfully. I'll help you, Arya said at last. But you don't get my world. You live quietly, safely, away from this. Her mother cried. Lorenzo watched from the doorway, understanding something new. Arya did not rule from cruelty. She ruled from scars. The assassination attempt came at dawn. A sniper. A rooftop. One mistake. Lorenzo shoved Arya to the ground as the bullet shattered glass inches from her head. The guards responded instantly, gunfire echoing through the estate. When it was over, Lorenzo knelt beside her, hands shaking openly now. You almost died, he said, rage breaking through his control. So did you? She shot back. Silence fell. That night, Lorenzo locked himself in his study. Arya found him hours later, staring at an old photograph of himself as a boy. I can't lose you, he said hoarsely. I've accepted death my whole life. But not yours. Arya knelt in front of him. Then we changed the rules. His eyes lifted. No one leaves this life alive. Then we make sure we're the last ones standing, she said. For the first time, Lorenzo believed escape might exist. Not from the world, but from the man he used to be. The city fractured. 3 families united against Lorenzo, threatened by Arya's influence. They underestimated her. She anticipated their moves, cut supply lines, turned allies, weaponized patience. Since when did you think like this? Marco asked. Since I learned fear is a language, Arya replied. And I'm fluent. The final confrontation was brutal. Warehouses burned. Names were erased. Blood soaked concrete. When it ended, Valenro belonged to them completely. But victory carried a cost. Lorenzo was wounded. Badly. Arya held his hand in the hospital as machines breathed for him. You don't get to leave me, she whispered. Not after everything. When he woke, his first words were her name. Recovery forced stillness. In that stillness, Arya thought, power had made them untouchable. Love had made them vulnerable. She stood on the balcony one night, city lights stretching endlessly. What if we walk away? She asked softly when Lorenzo joined her. He froze. There is no walking away. There is, she said. But only once. He studied her face. You'd give up the crown? For peace, she said. For a future that doesn't require blood every morning. Lorenzo turned away, conflict tearing through him. Finally, he spoke. I was born into this. I don't know who I am without it. She took his face in her hands. Then let me show you. The world woke to chaos. Lorenzo DeSantis was gone. So was his queen. Rumors exploded. Betrayal. Death. A staged execution. In truth, Marco ruled in their absence, following instructions sealed years earlier. Far away, in a quiet coastal town, Arya watched Lorenzo wake to the sound of waves instead of gunfire. He was restless, haunted, but slowly he learned how to breathe, how to live without armor, how to love without fear. Years later, someone asked Arya if she ever felt trapped. She smiled. There was a time, she said, watching Lorenzo laugh with their child by the shore, when escape meant running. And now, she said softly, escape means choosing love even when it's dangerous, because the truth remained. There was no escape from the Mafia King's embrace, but there was freedom in who he chose to become when he held her. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos.